James and Luna were a young married couple living in a cozy little house in the suburbs. Their family, though simple, was always filled with laughter and love. James was a kind-hearted man who adored his wife and worked hard to give Luna a good life. Luna was a beautiful, intelligent, and gentle woman. She worked for a large company and was often busy with her job. Their marriage was admired by many. James took care of Luna with utmost devotion. From preparing breakfast, sharing warm evenings together, to planning small weekend trips, he always tried his best to make Luna feel happy. When Luna announced that she was pregnant with their first child, James was overjoyed. He prepared everything for the baby's arrival, from buying a crib and clothes to renovating the nursery. The day Luna went into labor was a special day for James's family. After hours of pain, Luna gave birth to a chubby, adorable baby boy. James couldn't hide his emotions as he saw his son for the first time, holding the baby in his arms. He gazed at the tiny face and felt an overwhelming wave of love in his heart. Both sides of the family gathered to celebrate, filling the house with warmth and joy like never before. Everyone rejoiced at the arrival of the baby. James's parents were proud to finally have a grandson, while Luna's parents couldn't stop thanking James for his unwavering love and care for their daughter. For James, this was a life-changing moment. He felt that his life had become perfect with Luna and their precious baby boy. As time passed, the little boy grew quickly and thrived. However, the older he became, the more James began to notice peculiarities. He realized that the child's appearance bore no resemblance to him or anyone in his family. This unsettled him deeply. Jokes from friends and colleagues about how the boy didn't look like his father only heightened James's unease. James started paying closer attention. He noticed that the boy's eyes and facial features were distinct, unlike anyone in his paternal lineage. Initially, he convinced himself that it might be due to dominant genes from Luna's side of the family, but his doubts continued to grow. He couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. One evening, as he watched his son playing in the living room, James felt a heavy weight in his heart. He began to wonder if the child was truly his biological son. These thoughts plagued him, robbing him of sleep night after night. James felt lost, unsure of how to confirm his suspicions without hurting Luna or their son. Unable to bear the doubts and worries any longer, James decided he had to uncover the truth. Quietly, he resolved to collect samples from himself and his son to conduct a DNA test. The decision weighed heavily on him, but he felt he had no other choice. He needed to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. James discreetly took a few strands of his son's hair and brought them to a laboratory for testing. During the waiting period, his emotions were in a constant state of tension and conflict. On one hand, he hoped he was overthinking and that the results would confirm he was the boy's biological father. On the other hand, he feared that his instincts were correct and that the truth would shatter everything he held dear. The days leading up to the test results felt like the longest of James's life. He tried to act normal in front of Luna and their son, but his heart was weighed down with anxiety and unease. Every time he looked at his son, his heart ached. He wasn't sure if he could handle the truth, and if it wasn't what he hoped for, he didn't know what he would do next. Finally, the DNA test results were ready. James received a call from the lab, asking him to come and collect them. His heart raced wildly as he entered the lab, fear consuming his thoughts. Holding the sealed envelope in his trembling hands, James felt a surge of anxiety. He walked out of the lab and sat in his car, taking a deep breath before opening the envelope. The results confirmed that James was not the biological father of the child. The truth hit him like a punch to the chest, leaving him stunned. He couldn't believe his eyes, reading and rereading the results. But the outcome was clear and undeniable. James was swept into a whirlwind of emotions, pain, anger, and disappointment. He felt as if his entire world was crumbling around him. Sitting silently in his car for what felt like an eternity, tears began streaming down his face. He wondered why this had happened to him and why Luna had betrayed him. The memories of their happy moments together suddenly felt hollow and meaningless. overwhelmed by a deep sense of betrayal. James grappled with how he would face Luna and what he would do next. James returned home, trying to act normal, but inside, he was a mess of emotions. He began observing Luna more closely, recalling the times she came home late from work and the mysterious phone calls she always seemed to avoid letting him hear. Things he had previously overlooked now stood out with unsettling clarity. It felt as though he was living in a movie where everything was cloaked in secrecy. One evening, when Luna said she needed to stay late at the office to finish some work, James decided to follow her. He drove to her workplace and parked his car, watching the office building from a distance. After some time, he saw Luna leave the office, but she didn't head home. Instead, she went to an upscale cafe. At the cafe, Luna met a man James recognized as her boss, a well-dressed, wealthy, and influential man. The sight tightened James's chest painfully. It felt as though he were an outsider watching his own life unravel. He didn't enter the cafe but stayed in his car, watching Luna and her boss laughing and chatting happily. The doubts in his mind had now crystallized into a cruel reality. James returned home filled with anguish and disappointment. He didn't know how to face Luna, nor what to do about the son he had loved as his own. Memories of his time with the boy flooded his mind, from the first time he held him, the sleepless nights he spent caring for him, to teaching him how to walk and talk. All those sweet memories now felt unbearably painful. James decided not to confront Luna right away. He needed time to process his emotions and figure out his next steps. He also wanted to understand the nature of Luna's relationship with her boss, whether it was a one-time mistake or something deeper. James began observing Luna more closely, determined to uncover the full truth before making a final decision. One day, while Luna was in the shower, James noticed her phone left on the table. Unable to contain his curiosity, he decided to check her messages. What he found confirmed all his suspicions: romantic messages between Luna and her boss, detailing their dates and filled with affectionate words from Luna to the man. James felt his heart shatter. He couldn't believe that the woman he had loved and trusted so deeply could do this to him. The betrayal hit him like a tidal wave, leaving him reeling and unsure of how to move forward. James decided it was time to confront Luna. He could no longer live in this deception. One evening, as Luna arrived home, James was already seated in the living room, waiting. He asked her to sit down and said he needed to talk. Luna sensed something was wrong but tried to remain calm. James looked her straight in the eyes, his voice cold and serious, as he asked her about her relationship with her boss. At first, Luna denied everything, attempting to explain that it was purely work-related and that they were nothing more than colleagues. But when James presented the evidence, the messages he had read and the times he had seen her with her boss, Luna had nothing left to defend herself. She lowered her head, tears streaming down her face, and admitted to having an affair with her boss. James felt as if a knife had pierced his heart. He asked her why she had betrayed him and their child. Luna broke down, sobbing, saying she felt lonely and overwhelmed by the pressures of work and family life. She confessed that she had been drawn into the relationship and couldn't find a way out. Luna begged James for forgiveness, saying she still loved him and wanted to save their family. James remained silent, his heart shattered. Everything he had believed in now seemed to have crumbled into pieces. Without saying another word, he stood up and left the house. James needed time to think, to decide whether he could forgive Luna and continue this life, or if it was time to let go. Luna remained in the living room, sobbing uncontrollably. Despair consumed her. James was everything to her, and now she felt she had lost him forever. Luna knew she had made a terrible mistake, one that could never be justified. She had betrayed the husband who loved her, and she feared she could never regain James's trust. The next day, Luna resolved to do whatever it would take to save their marriage. She realized that a simple apology wouldn't suffice. She needed to show James that she still loved him and was willing to do anything for his forgiveness. Luna began by writing a long letter to James, pouring out all her emotions. She explained the feelings that had led her into the wrongful relationship with her boss and the deep remorse she was now enduring. In the letter, Luna admitted she didn't expect James to forgive her immediately, but she hoped he would understand that she still loved him and wanted to work through this difficult time together. She wrote that she would accept any decision James made, even if it meant divorce, but she would never give up hope of rebuilding their family. Through the letter, Luna laid her heart bare, hoping it would be the first step toward healing the broken trust between them. James received Luna's letter, but he didn't read it immediately. His heart was still heavy with pain and conflict. He loved Luna, but the sting of betrayal made it impossible for him to forget what she had done. James wasn't sure if he could continue living with someone who had betrayed him, let alone trust her again. He spent days reflecting on his love for Luna and their son. Memories of their happiest moments together replayed in his mind. Strolling under the sunset, cozy evenings watching movies, and the times they prepared for their son's arrival. He wondered if those cherished memories could ever be enough to help him move past the hurt. One evening, James decided to open Luna's letter. He read every word she had written, feeling the weight of her remorse and the love she still had for him. For the first time in days, James felt some of the burden in his heart lift. Though the pain remained, James realized that forgiveness wouldn't come easily, and even if he chose to stay, rebuilding their relationship would be a long and challenging journey. He knew the decision he was about to make would shape not just his future but the future of their entire family. During the period when James and Luna were grappling with their marital crisis, both families began to notice the tension between them. James and Luna's parents were worried but had no idea what was going on. The couple tried their best to keep their struggles private, especially to shield their son from the fallout. One day, James's mother visited their home. She sensed that something was off. The atmosphere was tense, despite James and Luna's attempts to act normal. Her keen intuition picked up on the cracks in their facade. Deciding to stay for a private conversation, she sat with James after Luna had left the room. After some gentle persuasion, James finally opened up and told his mother everything. He shared the betrayal, the doubts, and the pain he was enduring. James's mother sat in silence, deeply troubled by what she had heard. She couldn't believe that Luna, the daughter-in-law she had always cherished, could betray her son. However, she also knew how much James loved Luna and their child. She advised James to think carefully before making any final decisions. If you still love Luna and want to keep your family together, consider giving her a chance to make amends. She said, "Forgiveness isn't a sign of weakness. It's a strength that helps us overcome pain and find healing." Her words gave James much to ponder, planting a seed of hope amid his turmoil as he considered the path forward. James knew that to fully understand the situation and make a final decision, he needed to confront Luna's boss, the man who had contributed to the breakdown of his family. One afternoon, James went to Luna's workplace and waited in the parking lot until he saw her boss leaving the building. James approached him and asked for a private conversation. Luna's boss looked surprised to see James but agreed to talk. James didn't mince words. He directly asked about the nature of his relationship with Luna and what had led her into this affair. First, the boss tried to justify himself, claiming that everything had been consensual and that he hadn't forced Luna into anything. However, James refused to accept these justifications. He told the man that he had used his power and position to exploit Luna's feelings of loneliness and vulnerability. James made it clear that he wasn't there for an apology, but to ensure the man understood the damage he had caused. A family torn apart and an indescribable pain inflicted upon James. Without waiting for a response, James walked away, knowing that nothing the man said could undo what had already happened. On his way home, James felt a slight sense of relief. He had spoken the words that needed to be said and had stood up for himself and his family. Now, it was time to make a decision, one that would shape the future for him and his loved ones. James understood that whatever choice he made, he would have to face the consequences and take responsibility for it. James returned home after confronting Luna's boss, his heart still heavy but somewhat relieved. He had done what needed to be done. Now, he faced the hardest decision of all. Whether he could forgive Luna and continue their marriage. He loved her, but he couldn't ignore the pain she had caused. Was love enough to overcome such betrayal? In the days that followed, James spent a lot of time alone. He took long walks around the neighborhood, revisiting places where he and Luna had shared happy memories. Every familiar street and sight brought back emotions, both joy and sorrow. He recalled moments when Luna smiled at him, the times she held his hand tightly. These memories, still vivid, became a source of strength as he considered giving her another chance. Eventually, James made his decision. He resolved to try again. He couldn't easily forget what had happened, but his love for Luna and their son gave him hope that they could work through this. James wanted Luna to know that while he was willing to face the challenge of rebuilding their relationship, she also had to take responsibility and make a sincere effort to restore the trust she had broken. One evening, James sat with Luna in their living room. He told her about his decision, his expectations, and his fears. "I'm not saying it will be easy," he said, "but I want to try for us, for our family. But you have to meet me halfway. You have to show me that this family is as important to you as it is to me." Luna, overcome with emotion, promised to do whatever it took to repair the damage and regain his trust. Together, they began the difficult journey of healing and rebuilding, knowing that the road ahead would not be smooth but determined to face it together. One evening, James sat down with Luna to talk. He laid out his decision clearly. He would give her a chance. But that didn't mean everything would return to the way it had been. James demanded honesty and a genuine effort from Luna to prove that she truly wanted to change. He made it clear that if he discovered another betrayal, their relationship would end immediately. Luna was overwhelmed with emotion, tears streaming down her face as she listened to James's words. She knew she had made a grave mistake and was willing to do whatever it took to make amends. Luna promised to sever all ties with her boss and devote her love and attention entirely to her family. She understood that regaining James's trust would take a long time, but she was ready to wait and work for it. Luna began with small, everyday actions. She made an effort to be a better wife and mother. She spent more time with her family, helping James care for their son and creating new happy memories together. Luna also agreed to attend marriage counseling with James, where they could share their feelings, better understand each other, and work through the barriers that had formed between them. Through patience and determination, Luna sought to show James that she was committed to rebuilding their relationship. James, while cautious and guarded, allowed himself to see glimpses of hope for their future, knowing that the path to healing would require effort from both of them. Together, they began to take tentative steps toward a new chapter in their lives. James looked at his son, the child he had loved deeply since the day he was born. Although the DNA test had confirmed that he was not the boy's biological father, it didn't change the love he felt. James understood that the child was innocent in all that had happened, and now more than ever, he felt a responsibility to protect and care for him. One afternoon, as James took his son to the park, the boy suddenly hugged him tightly and said, "Daddy, I love you so much." Those simple words brought tears to James's eyes. In that moment, he realized that all his efforts were worth it. The boy was blameless and deserved a loving father. No matter what had happened, James resolved that no matter what became of his marriage to Luna, he would always be a father to his son. He would not let anything diminish the love he had for the boy. This strengthened his determination to save his marriage and preserve their family, because he knew that his son needed both parents to grow up in a happy and stable home. That moment reminded James of the true essence of family: love, sacrifice, and the commitment to stand by those you care for, no matter how difficult the circumstances. Although James had decided to give Luna a chance, life didn't easily return to how it had been. The wound Luna had caused still lingered, and every time James thought about it, his heart ached. Even during evenings spent together, an invisible distance often hung between them. James no longer felt the same comfort in Luna's presence. and this left Luna feeling both guilty and heartbroken. Luna knew she had to be patient. She didn't blame James for not being able to fully forgive her yet, because she understood that she was the one who had shattered his trust. She focused on creating new memories, warm moments to replace the painful ones. Luna stayed by James's side, never pressuring him to move on quickly, but instead proving that her love was genuine and that she was willing to face any challenge to mend their relationship. The couple started participating in activities together, such as going on walks, exercising, and even joining dance classes for couples. These lighthearted and fun moments brought laughter and slowly helped bridge the gap between them. James began to see that, despite the pain, Luna's love for him was sincere. As they tackled small challenges together, trust gradually began to rebuild. James and Luna understood that they were on a difficult path, but at least they were both making an effort and refusing to give up. James couldn't guarantee he would ever completely forget what Luna had done, but he recognized that their mutual love and determination were powerful enough to help them move forward. Together, James and Luna resolved not to let past mistakes ruin their future. They were committed to overcoming the difficulties and rebuilding their family. It would take time, but they both believed that with effort and perseverance, they could rediscover the happiness they once had. James began to realize that love and responsibility for his family were not just about what he said but also about what he did. Although he had decided to forgive Luna, truly moving past the pain was a long and challenging process. Each day, James wrestled with painful memories and the lingering fear of being betrayed again. Yet, every time he looked into his son's eyes, his love for his family grew stronger, giving him the determination to keep trying. Luna, on her part, never stopped making an effort. She understood that things could never go back to the way they were and that she needed to prove her love and sincerity every single day. Luna began participating in charity activities and invited James to join her. Together, they helped those in need and took part in community projects. These activities not only brought them closer but also allowed James to gradually see the sincerity in Luna's actions. One day, during a charity trip to a rural area, James observed Luna as she wholeheartedly helped a struggling family. She spent hours talking to them, offering comfort, and helping them overcome their difficulties. The sight of Luna's genuine care and dedication softened James's heart, and he started to believe that Luna had truly changed. James realized that if he wanted to keep their family intact, he too needed to open his heart and give Luna the chance to start anew. He saw that healing wasn't just about forgetting the past but about creating a new foundation built on mutual effort, understanding, and love. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, James felt hopeful that they could rebuild what was broken. With time and effort, he believed they could create a stronger and more meaningful bond than before. After months of struggling with his emotions, James made the decision to truly forgive Luna and continue their life together. He realized that his love for Luna and their son outweighed the pain and doubts that had plagued him. James understood that to rebuild a happy family, he needed to let go of the past and focus on the future. Above all, he wanted his son to grow up in a home filled with love and forgiveness. James and Luna sat down together to discuss their future. They set new principles for their relationship, pledging to always be honest and respectful with one another. Luna promised never to hide anything from James again, and James vowed to always listen and share his feelings openly. They both acknowledged that while the past couldn't be erased, they could work together to create new, better memories. Luna was deeply moved when James told her he was ready to forgive and move forward. She knew this was a rare and precious second chance, and she resolved never to take James for granted again. Luna was determined not to lose him a second time. She understood that the road ahead would still be challenging, but she believed that with love and patience, they could overcome anything. Together, James and Luna embarked on a new chapter in their lives, committed to building a stronger, more loving family, one step at a time. James and Luna began attending marriage counseling to learn how to communicate better and understand each other on a deeper level. They sought help from an experienced counselor who guided them to view their marital issues objectively and thoughtfully. The counselor emphasized that rebuilding trust required patience, time, and, most importantly, genuine effort from both sides. During the sessions, James started to understand Luna's feelings of loneliness and pressure during the times she felt neglected. He realized that when she needed support, he had unknowingly been distant due to his focus on work. While this didn't justify Luna's actions, it gave James insight into the root causes of her betrayal. Luna also listened as James expressed the pain and hurt she had caused him. She recognized that his willingness to try again was extraordinary and felt immense gratitude for his forgiveness and love. Luna committed to putting in the time and effort to rebuild trust, starting by opening up more and sharing her worries and emotions with James instead of keeping them to herself. To rekindle their connection, James and Luna decided to refresh their relationship by creating new memories together. They began dating again, just like in the early days of their romance, going to the movies, having candlelit dinners, and spending quality time with one another. These moments of laughter and closeness helped them realize that their love was still there. They understood that as long as they didn't give up, their relationship could heal and become even stronger. Slowly but surely, James and Luna were piecing their marriage back together, one step at a time. A year had passed since James decided to forgive Luna, and their lives had changed significantly. James no longer looked at Luna with suspicion, and Luna had proven herself worthy of his trust. Together, they had overcome many challenges and learned to love and appreciate each other more deeply. Their son had grown older and continued to thrive in an environment filled with love and care from both parents. James and Luna made a conscious decision not to let the mistakes of the past affect their son's future. They worked together to build a happy and resilient family, grounded in love and forgiveness. One afternoon, the family went to the park, a favorite spot for their weekend outings. Luna prepared a small picnic while James played with their son. Watching James and their son laugh and play, Luna felt a wave of gratitude and happiness wash over her. She couldn't hold back her emotions as she thought about the second chance James had given her. James turned to Luna, smiled, and held her hand. He knew the road ahead would still have its challenges, but he believed they could face anything together. James and Luna had not only regained the happiness they once had but also discovered a deeper, more enduring love forged through the trials they had endured. Their love was no longer just the promises they had exchanged on their wedding day. It was the daily efforts, sacrifices, and commitments they made to preserve their family. Life was far from perfect, and they knew there would be more obstacles to face. But with trust, love, and forgiveness, James and Luna believed they could overcome anything. They had learned that sometimes, forgiveness is not just about freeing the other person. It's also about freeing oneself and opening the door to a new, hopeful future.